Here we go. It is a Wednesday. A lot of stories brewing here. It's The Herd. Wherever you may be, however you may be listening. iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio, FS1. Joel Klatt joins me in 1 hour. Humongous weekend of college football. Gigantic matchups with undefeated teams. Huge weekend in the NFL as well. J-Mac is joining us. Well, we've got all sorts of stories here. Davante Adams in trouble. There's been a week of conflict, and you watch some fans overreact massively. They think I underreact massively, and here we are.
Some big Miami Dolphins news breaking in the last 30 minutes as well, so it's an action-packed Wednesday show for the Herd.
Let's start with this. So in the last couple of weeks, we've had some video out there, the Davante Adams stuff. We'll get to that in a bit. But the Draymond Green punch that TMZ had, it was leaked by somebody to TMZ. Draymond punching a teammate. I said at the time, this is not rare. I called immediately 2 executives in the NBA, and they're like, coaches will never tell you this, but they like tough practices. In fact, Flip Saunders said back in 2015, the late great coach of the Timberwolves, the reason coaches don't want practice open is this stuff happens all the time, and they don't want it out. Many of you were screaming, should be arrested, should be that. He was not suspended by the Warriors. And I know a lot of you say this, well, at my work, it is not your work. If I punched you at work, HR people would come screaming down the hall. In this instance, there's no HR people there. Steve Kerr closed the doors and they had a meeting. It's different. There is conflict and yelling and screaming. And privately, coaches like a lot of this stuff. They're trying to build strong teams mentally and strong teams physically. They want really brutal practices. There is a sanitized version of sports that you see. And then the doors close and the cameras are off. That's why even at USC practice, 10 minutes, you get warm-ups. Then they ask the media to leave. In the NFL, maybe you get 7 minutes. Then they ask you to leave. What you see is sanitized, and occasionally the real part of sports leaks out. That's an offensive coordinator throwing headsets, looks like a crazy person. It happens every weekend. A player punching. Steve Kerr said it's happened 20 times in his career. Damian Lillard came out of the Blazers and said, I've seen more of that in college than pro. And Steve Kerr addressed it. They are not suspending him. They are fining him. He'll play in their final preseason game this Friday. Here's Steve Kerr.
We feel like we have a great feel for our team. You know, we've got a lot of continuity on this team, so Bob and I know our players extremely well, and we feel like this is the best way, after assessing everything, for us to move forward. It's never easy. No matter what decision you make in a situation like this, it's not going to be perfect.
Pro athletes often thrive in environments like this. Football coaches and basketball coaches, they don't want altercations all the time, but they want teams that are tough mentally and tough physically. And how do you get that way? How do you get that way? Tough practices, pushing, shoving, and occasional fights. Now, all that said, Steve Kerr also said this.
This is the biggest crisis that we've ever had since I've been coach here. It's really serious stuff. We're not perfect. You know, our team isn't perfect. Bob and I have definitely made our share of mistakes over the years, but we're going to lean on the experience that we have together, you know, over the last 9 years, and trust that this is the best decision for our team.
So this altercation can be 2 things. I know social media won't allow it, but it's 2 things. It's not that rare, and it's not that outrageous, and you don't need to call police. This happens a lot. And this is a little uglier than they'd prefer, and an older, veteran, expensive player past his prime, Draymond, and an emerging, ascending young player who's in the future plans, they want to protect him too. Now, the Warriors do a very good job at fixing things. They fix the Kevin Durant left thing quite well. They fix being down to the Celtics quite well. Sometimes Draymond creates those, and sometimes he has solved those. So things can be 2 things at once. not nearly as rare as you think, and the kind of thing a veteran attacking an ascending young player that can tear at the fabric of your culture, which is the best in the league. Steve Kerr said, we're not suspending him, but we got a little mini crisis. It's not our first. We're good at solving them, and there you go. All right, I want to mention this. One of the things about this business is I've never thought, and I think I've said this over and over again, I tell young broadcasters all the time, don't worry about being right. Try to be right, but don't be paralyzed by being right. Do yourself a favor. Be interesting. Interesting pays really well. Right? A lot of guys are right. Right gets obnoxious, right? And, but there are times, there are arguments years ago, I said when the Lakers split Kobe and Shaq up, I said they made the right decision. Now, I'm going to have to eat a dirt sandwich for about 2 years because Shaq is joining D-Wade in his prime and Pat Riley, the architect. Miami's going to be really good instantly, but the long-term play, and I felt I was right, and I was right, was Kobe. Kobe worked harder, was younger, was in better shape, was less distracted. In the end, you got a couple titles from Kobe. He aged better, sold a lot of tickets, was more focused. But initially, you lose on that, right, as a talk show host. And I feel this about the Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott. For years and years and years and years, I have been saying Dak is Kirk Cousins with swag. He's a good B quarterback. Sometimes his stats, if you look at him in a blind resume, you're like, woo! And then you're like, then you unveil the blind resume and go, well, it is Kirk Cousins. He's not great in primetime. And you unveil the Dak blind resume and you're like, yeah, he doesn't beat good teams. So this argument has definitively been solved. Dak is not an A quarterback. So Cooper Rush and Andy Dalton with Mike McCarthy, who's not an elite coach, right, in most eyes. Those two quarterbacks are 9-5 without Dak. That is a 64% winning percentage. Dak Prescott, his winning percentage in Dallas is less. It's 62%. Now, what does that mean? If you have a star quarterback, here's how it works. Bill Belichick with the New England Patriots won 77% of his games with Brady. Brady left, 4 other quarterbacks, Castle, Bledsoe, Cam, Mac Jones, Bailey Zappi. He won 49% of his games. That's Bill Belichick. Andy Reid with the Chiefs has won 64% of his games without Mahomes, 80% with him. John Harbaugh with the Ravens, with Lamar Jackson, 74% wins. Without Lamar, he's won 57% of his games. Even Jimmy Garoppolo, who you all despise, with Garoppolo, 69% winner is Kyle Shanahan. Without him, 24%. Brady, Mahomes, Lamar, Garoppolo. If you have a star, even a great coach, Reid, Harbaugh, Kyle, Belichick, not going to win as much. Cooper and Andy Dalton fill in with Mike McCarthy. Their winning percentage is slightly better than Dak. Now, some of this could be situational. This is not a criticism. But the Cooper Cup and Andy Dalton is validation, illustration, verification of an inarguable truth. That Dak Prescott is a franchise quarterback. And like Kirk Cousins, there are some intangibles I love. But if you have a star quarterback, okay, even a great coach can't win. In San Francisco, Kyle Shanahan wins 24% of his games. The greatest coach, Bill Belichick in New England, wins less than half his games without Brady. Mahomes in Kansas City, and he took over a team that had some players, 65% winner. With Mahomes, it's 80. That is the gap. That is a star quarterback in this league. So it's not a shot at Dak. It is an illustration of the reality. With Mike McCarthy, he went over 62, 63, 64% with Cooper Rush and Andy Dalton. About 62, 63% with Dak. I think Dak's obviously better than Dalton and Cooper Rush. Some of it can be situational in who you play. But we've always knocked Kirk Cousins because he can't win the primetime games. Go look at Dak's last 5 years. He can't beat the good teams. It's the same thing. Dak is Kirk, both B+, but he's got more swag. All right, the Davante Adams stuff is around the corner. Oh, very serious. Kansas City PD is on the case, and we'll have that around the corner for you. A few months ago, we installed a master spa